Start with a prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this time of sharing in remembrance of the life of one of your servants. We thank you for the safe travels that we've all experienced to get here, and we thank you for the opportunity to gather together in love and remembrance of Josephine, mom, sister, grandmother, aunt. Pulling this together, sometimes we don't know how many are going to be attending. Sometimes the weather has a bigger factor than anything else. One thing we know this morning is that this is a gathering of love. We thank you for that. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Well, I really thank you for all coming and being here today. I wasn't certain at all how many people would be able to attend, and so we kind of shot for the big number and figured we'd end up somewhere near. And so thank you for being here. I wanted to talk a little bit about Mom and the background that created this lady. She had her own sense of style, as I thought about her, and for many that was the primary thing they remembered about her, is that she was always dressed in a certain unique way, and it was always colorful, it was always bright. And it wasn't always her own, but it was always nice looking. She loved to make people laugh. She told me near the end, I just love to make people laugh, even if it's at me. And I don't think there's anybody here who probably hasn't heard the story, but I'm going to beg your pardon and repeat it. About the time she and Jack visited, and she was so excited to announce at the dinner table that they had found a new place to live. They had moved out of the sorority. She said, oh, I'm just so excited. Jack and I have bought a condom. And my two near-teen and teenage children were seated at the table and looked at each other, not knowing for sure whether they should laugh or crawl under the table. We had a lot of good times remembering that, and several others. We would come and visit Mom in the warm country, and Barb always carried a pad and a pencil to write down what we laughingly called the Josephineisms. The problem was we couldn't write fast enough. She could always put people at ease. That's one thing I always remember about her. It's just so natural for her to talk to anyone and to make them feel comfortable in that time they had with her. She made you feel cared for, even loved, in just a short period of time. And I think that has to do with her background. You know, as I studied psychology, they talked about nature versus nurture, and they still do today. So nature is, well, you might say she was born with a caring personality. Nurture, she was taught to be caring. But the reality was something like this. If you take a child and you move that child into 10 different schools in 12 years and have a father who is plagued with nervousness and nervous breakdowns, what would you expect that child to become? Well, at the very least, a neurotic, I would think. But not Mom. No, you'd get a lady who learns to show every new person she meets that they're special and that every relationship is important. I figured out it's really a survival skill. You know, if you're the new kid in class every year, you have to learn how to survive that. And you have to get people to like you in a hurry. And she was good at that. But it wasn't really nature versus nurture, because in that formula they left out the most important thing. And that's love. The difference is love. Loving parents, loving sisters, love in practice, in action daily, and working hard to make relationships work. When she became a house mother, I really resented the sorority girls because they all called her Mom. And she was my mom. But I realized that she was sharing not just her love, but Christ's love. And that made it better. What else? Well, she was good at starting over. Every year in school, she had to start over with a new batch of friends. She lost a husband through divorce. She had to start over on her own. She found someone else to care for and started over. They lived together in that sorority. She took care of Jack as he lost control of his limbs and struggled. And she lost him, and she went out on her own again to get around town, to drive on her own, to do the things she needed to do, to live in that condominium on her own. And then she found the fellow she called the love of her life, George. George was a unique personality, and it took some of us longer than others to accept him. But ultimately we did. And it took him a while to accept some of us, but ultimately he did. And I guess the thing that I'll leave you with is what she told me more than once. And that is, she loved the old way that they made names for people. It wasn't just a first, a middle, and a last name. No, her dad was Edwin Herman August Frederick Bainey, born on October 7th, 1896. And he died on December 20th, 1969. But it was her mother's name. That combination of love and respect came through when she talked about Amanda Wilhelmina Christina Quaddy Bainey. Just that way. And Grandma died on May 21, 1902. No, I'm sorry, she was born on May 21, 1902 and died July 11, 1965. And in her many notes about her funeral and what to do with the body and all those kind of things, she wrote this note. You can kind of see it here. It said, "I would like my tombstone to read Josephine Bainey Borchert Vest Myers." And as you can see out here, it just says Vest. Well, she wrote that in black ink, and then I have to believe a day or two later came across the scrap of paper and with blue ink wrote, "Whatever." And that was Mom. She had ideas with things that she thought should go a certain way. But if it didn't work out for the rest of you, well, whatever. So again, I want to say thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing her life. And I hope that by doing this, it keeps her family together. I'd like anyone else who would like to say something. You don't have to come up front. Just say whatever you'd like to say.
Well, I will, but I don't know if my voice carries enough.
Well, push it, Sandy.
I've been thinking about this time too. And, you know, I was blessed to be born into a family of love. I had a father, and I had basically 3 mothers, because my oldest sister was 19, my middle sister was 17. And I love the fact that we had oral tradition going in our family, because if I hadn't had oral tradition, I wouldn't remember all these things. But because of my 2 sisters, I have a vivid memory of my childhood, because throughout the years, every time that we'd get together, or if they'd call on the phone, they'd say, "Oh, Sandy, this is what happened here and there," you know, and just beautiful things. Joe would, well, first of all, I have to tell you that when Joe told me this, that when she heard that I was going to be born, you know, she'd been the baby of the family all the time, and she was a little bit like put out because she wasn't going to be the baby anymore. But then she talked with her good friend Janine Krieger, and they sat on the steps and talked about it and thought, no, this is going to be good. So that was fine. They were looking forward to me until the day that Mama went into the hospital for the delivery. And then she told me this last summer when I came, and by the way, I'm so thankful that I was able to come this last time, just have this wonderful time with her. And Tommy honored the fact that I said, I don't want to come in, I want to live at your house and go to bed there, but come and I want to see your mom. But anyway, she said that on the day that Mama went to the hospital to deliver me, she said she could have cared less about me. She just wanted Mom to come through that all safely. And Mama was the best Mama you could have. But getting back to Joe, because of Joe, your mom, your grandma, your aunt, I had a baby book that I wouldn't have had otherwise, with all these wonderful things, and she had little scraps of things about me. She said one time, she said, "Grouchy's little nut, someday I'm going to crack it out of you." That was so cute. And then she had, at one point, she loved lace. You know, just little incidents like that. I remember that she told me the story that when I was 3 years old, she wanted me to go up in church and say a Christmas piece. And she knew that I'd probably be shy, so she bribed me with this little heart necklace. And I went up, and because of her, I remember what I said, and it was, if I were, okay, no, let's think about it. If I were Jesus. Okay, now I'm not going to remember it, but anyway, it was just a sweet piece, and I said it, and she was so proud of me, so she gave me this necklace, and I still have it, this little heart-shaped necklace, and she always had her picture in there with it. She was my protector. When I was in kindergarten, I went to school, and the superintendent's daughter was a little bit jealous that I had these 2 friends, so she was going to butt in, and she poked me in the back with a pencil. And I went home for lunch, and I went to Joe's house, the Borchert hospital, and told her about it, and oh my goodness, she was right there. And she called that superintendent, and that girl, Barb, never did that to me again. She protected me. She always gave me something to excel at. She made sure, she was certain I was going to be a model. I should go to Minneapolis to be a model. Fun things like that. And then when I graduated from high school, I had taken college prep courses nurses, but never thought I would go to college because I didn't think Daddy could afford this. But my two sisters said, Daddy, that girl's got to go to college. So I graduated from high school in May, not knowing I was going to do anything. And I went to college in September to work for college. And, you know, Daddy reached in the freezer and got out some money, and I worked all the way through college, and we made it. And they were so proud of me. Mom was, and Grandma and all this, was an encourager. Always encouraged me. Her phone calls would always be ones of encouragement and support. And at the end, we would share things like, I mean, I was so amazed at how she just kept, I mean, the playing bridge and the reading the books. And the last 2-3 years, we'd always call back and forth and say, okay, we got this book. You know, we got to read this book. And she was always reading and giving us all these wonderful suggestions on books. And then too, getting a phone call. You want to hear a joke? And she could remember the punchline every single time. It just blew my mind that she could do this. This summer, when we visited for the last time, I think we both knew that it was going to be the last time. We went through all kinds of pictures, talked about all kinds of things. I asked her questions about Mom and Daddy and my grandpa that I didn't really know anything about. She had the information on that, and she had lived through it with my dad, with all the depression that he suffered, and so she knew about that and told me about that. And then I think, Katie, you'd been there and been talking about how your mom was her mother. You'd been always her mother to her. And then she asked me if I had been like a mother, or she had been like a mother to me. And I thought about her overnight, and the next day I talked to her about it, and I said, you know, Marlene was definitely my mother. But I said, you, Joe, were somebody that I always wanted to be like. I always wanted to be like Joe. You were so right, Thom. Her homes were always decorated. I mean, they were always just bright and cheery. They were welcoming. Her style was something I tried to do just like that. So anyway, just to sum this all up, I am so thankful that Joe was my sister. I was blessed.
And I can tell you she felt the same way about you. So I probably shouldn't do this, but since Mom's here urging me on, I will remind you of her favorite story, the joke of the two brothers, never married. One had his favorite cat.
Last joke she told me.
And the brother that had to go away had the cat and had to trust the cat's care to the other brother who was not very worthwhile in taking care of things. And the first day away, didn't get a call about the cat. The second day, didn't get a call, and so finally called and said, "Why haven't you called me about my cat?" He said, "Well, why should I? The cat died." What? What happened? Oh, he got up on the roof, or I don't remember what happened, but something happened to the cat and he died. And I didn't see any reason to call you. He said, "Well, you could have called and let me down easy." "Well, what do you mean?" "Well, you could have said the cat got out, but I'll go and find it. Call me back in a couple hours." weeks later and say it got up on the roof, but the firemen are on their way, and call back a couple of hours later and say the fireman lost his grip and the cat fell to his death. Oh, I understand. Well, okay, so that was that. A couple of weeks later, the brother calls and says, I just thought I'd call and tell you that Mom's up on the roof. And I guess the funny thing about that is that she liked it so well. But she passed so quickly, I didn't have a chance to call my brother and say, Mom's up on the roof. He would have understood.
Well, what was it? Somebody told me. Did I talk to him? Did I talk to him? I can't remember. But anyway, maybe Aunt Jo told me this. That, when she was sick and in the hospital the last time, that she told me this. Because she told me that joke, and then she had said that Lynn had called and was wondering if she was on the roof.
Yes.
And she said, no, not yet.
Yeah.
Shortly thereafter, then that she did pass, but.
Well, we now know where she will be, so if we ever want to come back and visit her, this will be the site, and that will be the marker, and we'll have a chance to remember, once again, not necessarily just here, but wherever, these stories and, more importantly, these feelings. And you're all part of it, and I thank you very much for being part of it. All of you.
I would like to read John 11 verses 25 and 26 because my grandma was the most God-fearing woman that I knew. I am the resurrection and the life. He who believes in me, though he die, yet shall he live. And whoever lives and believes in me shall never die. Do not stand at my grave and weep. I am not there. I do not sleep. I am 1,000 winds that blow. I am the diamond glints on snow. I am the sunlight on ripened grain. I am the gentle autumn rain. When you awaken in the morning's hush, I am the swift, uplifting rush of quiet birds in circled flight. I am the soft stars that shine at night. Do not stand at my grave and cry. I am not there. I did not die.
I heard someone say once, and I'm not going to quote it well, but something to the fact that when you lose someone, it's okay to cry for them because it's just the love that you have for them and not having a place to go. And so it comes out your eyes. for me, it's funny, as I heard Dad talk about who Grandma was, I really identified with a lot of the things that she was, is, and how she really gave into my life. Even though we weren't geographically real close for most of my life. But she was probably, more than anyone else, who taught me who Jesus was and what a natural relationship with Jesus looks like. And just how to love people. And I still try to do that. Especially with people who aren't so lovable. And I'm very happy for her. And I will miss her.
I had called Sandy after a month of grieving, and I just couldn't get past it. And it's gotten easier, but the hard part was that I didn't have a sense that she was going to go, like maybe some of you had. I thought she was going to be around quite a lot longer, and I think on the back of today's insert is really good towards the end when it says, "There she is gone, there are eyes watching her coming, and other voices ready to take up glad shout. Here she comes." We're mourning and we're not seeing her, but there's others that are so excited to see her, and that's such a comfort that so many others are enjoying her right now.
And you know, I see the love that you two grandchildren have for your grandma. And I just want you to know that every time that she talked about you, there was a smile in her eyes and in her heart. She loves you. She was so proud of both of you. Always.
Yeah, she'd tell the story, and I don't remember this, of course, but one of the trips when we were living in Douglas, we would come up and stay at up here, and apparently there was one time we arrived and I could see Grandma out through the windshield, and I was so excited to see her and get to her that I was clambering up on the steering wheel trying to get to her through the windshield. And
Not all grandmas are the same, and I think that's important to remember. You know, they don't all bake cookies,
Mhm.
and they're not all there to kiss you. But what we had was so wonderful. I wouldn't trade it, because look at us. You know, we're sitting here talking about what we had. It was so special. And I had to convince her of it a few years ago. She felt guilty. She says, "You must just hate me for being gone for so long." I said, "Of course not. You called every week."
Yeah.
Who else would call every week?
It's a good thing that you got the rates of phones got different, because I can remember when I was little, and she would call home and she'd say, "There's 3 minutes," and when the 3 minutes were up, whether you were talking or not, she hung up.
Boy, that's a memory. That is a memory, yes.
Not just when you were little.
No.
After we were married, it was still that way for many years.
Really?
Even few months before her death, when she was done talking.
Yeah, well,
I-
that's
there was,
true,
you know,
yeah.
just bang.
Well,
we're
I
done.
talked to her about it too, and
Yeah.
I said, okay, you don't hang up on me. You can't say goodbye until I say I love you. That's our thing. Once I say I love you, then we can hang up. But otherwise, we're not going to.
But the neat thing about the phone calls too was that, when she, especially when she was down here, it was kind of like, no, to Iowa. She made, I called and she'd say, can't talk right now. That was a bridge game, and all that. Okay.
Well, let's close the prayer. Heavenly Father, nothing's been said here today that you didn't already know. You had on earth a true warrior. And I think each of us are charged to move forward with her memory. To love you as she did. To work in your vineyard as she did. And to continue to long for the day when we'll see her again.